This story begins with a scream that shattered the silence of the desert, a young boy running for his life, a mother tied to a burning rock under the cruel sun, and a cold-blooded cowboy who laughed while she suffered, thinking no one could stop him. But what happened next shocked the entire West. A twist so unexpected that even the toughest cowboys fell silent when they heard it. Get ready, because this story grabs you from the first second. Share this video, leave your thoughts in the comments, and at the end, don't forget to subscribe. The scorching desert sun hammered down on the endless stretch of red dirt as Eli ran with every ounce of strength left in his body. His throat burned, his breath tore in and out like broken glass, and the world shimmered with heat. But he didn't stop. He couldn't stop. His mother's life depended on it. Hours earlier, he had returned home to find their ranch overturned, the door hanging off its hinges, furniture broken, and a knife stabbed into the wooden frame. A single message was nailed there, one that froze his blood instantly. If you want to see your mother alive, come to Deadman's Ridge by noon. No weapons, no law, come alone. Eli had stared at the note with shaking hands, the world spinning. He was barely 18, strong but inexperienced, a boy forced into a man's terror in a single heartbeat. His mother, Martha, had raised him alone since his father's mysterious death years earlier. She was everything to him, and now she had been taken by men with no conscience. Eli grabbed nothing but a flask of water and began running toward the ridge. By the time he reached Deadman's Ridge, his legs felt carved from stone. The canyon rose like jagged teeth, shadows cutting across the ground. And then he saw her. His mother was tied to a massive black rock, wrists bound cruelly behind her back, her head hanging forward as if she were moments from collapsing. Her skin was red and blistered from the merciless sun. Eli's heart nearly broke in half. He sprinted across the sand, shouting her name, but a voice stopped him like a bullet to the spine. Well, look who finally made it. Eli turned, and his stomach knotted with dread. Cole Maddox stood there, leaning lazily against the rock like he owned the entire desert. His mouth twisted into a smirk that sent chills through Eli. Maddox was a name whispered in taverns, feared by travelers, and hunted by the law. He was a man known not just for violence, but for enjoying the pain he caused. Behind him stood 3 members of his gang, armed and amused by Eli's terror. Eli forced himself to stand tall, though his knees trembled. Why are you doing this? What do you want with us? His voice cracked despite his effort to sound strong. Cole pushed himself off the rock and sauntered closer, boots crushing the dry earth. What I want payment. A debt your late father owed me. Eli's jaw clenched. My father didn't owe you anything. He was a decent man. Cole chuckled darkly. Decent men die hiding secrets, boy, secrets that cost them everything. And now those debts pass to the next of kin. Martha struggled to lift her head, her voice barely a whisper. Eli, don't listen to him. Your father never owed this man a thing. Cole rolled his eyes and tapped the gun strapped to his hip. You know, I hate when people argue with me during a kidnapping. Makes things less enjoyable. Eli felt rage rise like a storm inside him, but he had nothing, no gun, no allies, no plan. He was alone, standing in front of monsters who held every advantage. Cole smirked wider, enjoying the hopelessness on the boy's face. All right, kid, since you're so eager to save mommy, let's play a game. I'm giving you a choice. Eli swallowed hard. What choice? Cole pointed toward the rock. You take her place, I cut her free, and you lie against that stone instead. Hands tied, no shade, no water, just you and the heat and whatever else crawls by. You'll die slower, but she walks free. The gang laughed behind him, the sound echoing off the canyon walls. Eli froze as the meaning sank in like a knife. He had expected pain, danger, maybe even death, but not like this. Martha gasped, shaking her head desperately. No, Eli, don't you dare. Eli stared at his mother, tears burning his eyes. Every memory of her kindness, her sacrifices, her strength flooded through him. She had worked her fingers raw for years to give him a life. How could he let her die? How could he watch her suffer a moment longer under that brutal sun? He stepped forward. I'll do it. I'll take her place. Cole's smirk deepened with twisted pleasure. Now that's what I like, a boy with guts. Shame he won't live long enough to use them. Before Eli could move another inch, the ground trembled ever so slightly. A low thunder rolled from the horizon, hoofbeats, fast, strong, approaching. Cole's smirk faltered as he turned his head toward the sound. Dust rose in a swirling cloud as a lone rider appeared atop the ridge, sunlight at his back. The silhouette was tall, broad-shouldered, unmistakably confident. He descended the slope with the ease of someone raised in the saddle. Cole cursed under his breath. What now? The rider came closer, revealing a hardened face, sharp eyes, and a badge pinned to his coat. It was the frontier lawman Carson Hale, a name that outlaws whispered with dread. Hale stopped several yards away, hand resting calmly on his saddle. "Afternoon, gentlemen, quite a crowd for such a quiet place." Cole's eyes narrowed. "This ain't your business, Hale, walk away." Hale didn't blink. "I'm making it my business. That woman is tied to a rock, that boy, about to die, and you're standing here smiling." Cole raised his gun. "Last warning, leave." Hale sighed, sliding off his horse. "I prefer solving problems peacefully, but you're not much for peace, are you?" The air tightened like a drawn bowstring. Eli didn't breathe. Martha didn't move. Cole's finger twitched dangerously close to the trigger. Suddenly, the canyon exploded with action as Hale dropped to one knee, rifle flashing in the sunlight. A single shot cracked through the silence, slamming into the dirt inches from Cole's boot. A warning, but one loaded with promise. Cole snarled, "Boys, kill him." Guns fired, bullets shredding the air. Hale dove behind a boulder and returned fire with deadly accuracy. One outlaw fell, another scrambled for cover. Eli shielded his mother as sand blasted around them. Hale fired again, pinning the gang down, but Cole grabbed Martha by the hair and yanked her upright, pressing a knife to her throat. Hale froze, rifle steady but unable to shoot. "Drop the gun, Hale, or she dies." Eli felt his heart stop. Hale's eyes narrowed, calculating, unreadable. The canyon fell silent, waiting for the next move. Cole smirked victoriously. "That's right, lawman, you can't save everyone." His grip tightened. The heat pulsed, the air thick enough to choke. The canyon stood frozen in a deadly stillness as Cole held the knife against Martha's throat, his breath hot and ragged with desperation and rage. Eli trembled, unable to move, afraid that even the slightest motion would push Cole toward killing her. Hale stood across from them, rifle aimed but motionless, sweat rolling down his temple as he read the outlaw's every twitch. The other two gang members ducked behind rocks, their earlier confidence replaced with panic. No one dared breathe. The entire desert seemed to hold its breath. Cole smirked, enjoying the tension he controlled. "That's right, lawman, put the rifle down. You ain't got a clear shot anyway, and even if you did, I'm faster." Hale kept his voice calm and level. "You let the woman go, Cole. This ends without another death." Cole barked a bitter laugh. "Without another death? You think I'm stupid? If I let her go, you'll put me in the ground faster than a rattlesnake strike." Hale's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed steady. "You're cornered. Your men are wounded. You won't make it out of here." Cole pressed the blade deeper. "Maybe, but I can sure take her with me." Eli's breath hitched. Mom, please hold on." Martha's eyes fluttered open, her voice barely escaping her dry lips. "Eli, listen to me, stay calm, don't move." Cole snarled. Quiet, she flinched but didn't break her gaze from her son. She knew something he didn't. She had one last card hidden. A tiny pistol strapped to her boot, small enough to hide, small enough to go unnoticed when they tied her up. The very same gun her husband had given her years ago, telling her that the West respected strength. With her hands bound behind her, she had been working slowly, cutting the rope against a sharp edge on the rock. Hale noticed the faint movement. His eyes flicked toward her boot, then back to Cole. He understood, but he couldn't signal Eli. One wrong move could ruin everything. He steadied his breathing, preparing to act the exact second Martha did. Cole shifted his stance slightly, adjusting his grip, tightening the blade against her skin. "Don't test me, lawman. I'll spill her blood right here." Hale's voice deepened. "And I'll shoot you through the eye before she hits the ground. But we both know this doesn't go the way you think." Cole started to respond. He never finished the sentence. A gunshot cracked through the canyon like thunder. Cole's eyes widened in disbelief as the knife slipped from his hand. He staggered back, hands trembling, staring at the blood blooming across his chest. Martha's broken bonds fell to the ground behind her. Smoke curled from the tiny pistol she held, her hand shaking violently, but her aim had been perfect. Cole stumbled once, twice, then collapsed onto the hot sand, the life draining from his eyes. Eli was already racing toward her. "Mom," he caught her just as her knees buckled, lowering her carefully, shielding her from the still-burning rock. Hale rushed forward, kicking Cole's fallen knife aside and checking Martha's pulse. "She's alive. Weak, dehydrated, exhausted, but alive." Eli held her close, tears streaming down his face. "You saved yourself, you saved both of us." Martha managed a faint smile, her voice rough but determined. "I wasn't letting that monster take you from me." The remaining gang members stared at Cole's lifeless body, fear overtaking them completely. One dropped his gun and ran. The other followed without hesitation, scrambling up the canyon wall as if demons chased him. Hale didn't chase. They weren't a threat anymore. Without Cole Maddox, they were nothing. Hale lifted Martha gently, supporting her weight as Eli guided him. Let's get her off this ridge before the heat does more damage. They walked slowly across the sand, Hale steady and focused, Eli desperate to keep his mother awake. Stay with me, Mom. Keep talking. Tell me anything. She managed a weak laugh. I've been telling you to clean the barn for weeks. Maybe now you'll listen. By the time they reached Hale's horse, Martha's strength was almost gone. Hale lifted her carefully into the saddle. Eli climbed up behind her, supporting her as Hale led the reins. The sun was lower now, but its heat still burned like an oven. The journey back to the Turner Ranch felt endless. Dust rose with every step, and the wind offered little relief. Eli whispered comforting words to his mother, hoping she could hear him through the haze of exhaustion. When they finally arrived, Eli carried her inside and laid her on her bed. Hale helped fetch water, cloths, and herbs, working with the practiced efficiency of a man who had treated countless wounded souls over the years. Together, they cooled her skin, rehydrated her slowly, and cleaned the burns along her arms and face. Hours passed. The sky darkened from gold to purple, then into deep night. Finally, Martha stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, searching for the familiar shape of her son. Eli leaned close. I'm here, you're safe now. Martha reached up with trembling fingers, touching his face. You did everything right today. You were brave. Eli shook his head, eyes filling again. You were braver. You saved your own life. You saved mine. Hale stepped into the doorway, arms folded, hat tucked under his arm. She's strong, tougher than most men I've met. Martha gave him a tired smile. And stubborn, according to my son. Hale chuckled softly. Stubbornness is a tool out here. Saved you today. Eli looked up at the lawman. Thank you for coming. You didn't have to. Hale's expression grew serious. I heard your shout echo across the ridge. And in this land, when someone cries for help, those who can answer have a duty to ride. It's what keeps the West from becoming nothing but cruelty. Silence filled the room, warm and heavy with gratitude and relief. Martha rested peacefully, color finally returning to her cheeks. Eli watched her breathing, each rise and fall steadier than the last. Hale eventually stood straighter, slipping his hat back on. I'll send word to the sheriff about Maddox. His gang won't trouble you again. Eli nodded. What do we do now? Hale gave a slow, meaningful smile. Now you heal, and you remember that courage runs in your family's blood. Your father would be proud of both of you. The lawman stepped outside into the cool night air, the stars glowing across the endless sky. Eli followed him only long enough to say one last thank you before returning to his mother's side. Inside the small wooden house, peace settled for the first time in days. The nightmare was over, but the memory of the ridge, the danger, the bravery, it would stay with them forever. And as the wind whispered across the plains, Eli knew one thing with absolute certainty. In a world as wild and unforgiving as the West, true courage wasn't in the guns or the legends. It was in a mother who refused to die and a son who refused to give up.